Welcome to From Beneath the Hollywood Sign. If you love old movies, Hollywood history, or the golden age of filmmaking, this is the podcast for you. Hosted by writer-producer Steve Cubine and actress-writer Nan McNamara. And now, Steve and Nan.
Hey everybody, and welcome back. We're here for another preview of our next episode, which if you can't tell, might be holiday themed. And I love your sweater. That's so amazing. Tell me what's the story behind your sweater?
Okay, this sweater, the very first time I went to New York City to visit my college friends, we had all gone our separate ways after we graduated. I came out to LA. They went to New York, acting school fellows, and we shopped at a vintage store. And so this sweater I purchased back then, and it was old then. So if you can imagine, I think it's perfect for our show because I would suspect that this sweater was around when the movies that we're going to be talking about were made.
Oh, I love that. You think it's from the 40s or 30s?
I'm pretty sure it's from the 40s. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, so it has all this beading and the buttons, and there's a label too. I should look it up. I think I did at one point to find out the year. So.
Oh, that's very cool. Well, we had such success with our Halloween episodes that we're doing another episode. Nan brings in some lesser known holiday movies, and then I'll bring in some, and we'll surprise each other. So that's the plan. But today we thought we'd talk about some of our honorable mentions that we don't really go into on the podcast. You can kind of get a flavor of what we're doing here.
Right. So do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Sure. Yeah. The movie that I'm going to talk about, which is one of my perennial favorites, it's The Bells of St. Mary's. Incredible movie from 1945. It was directed by the great Leo McCarey. And of course it stars Bing Crosby and Ingrid Bergman and Henry Travers. It's just one of those movies that puts me in the Christmas spirit like no other. One of the cool things about it is it's this young minister who comes to this convent with different ideas and more modern views. And he has to he's stonewalled a little bit by the very traditional nuns led by Ingrid Bergman. But eventually they find that he has elements that work and they have elements that work, and they kind of learn to come together and for the betterment of the children. Because also the convent runs a school for disadvantaged children. And so that's a whole nother storyline too. But it's just one of those wonderful, brilliant holiday movies. And actually the slide that's up right now is my favorite scene in the entire movie. It's where one of the kids gets bullied, and Ingrid Bergman, who's normally totally against violence and thinks you should turn the other cheek, she finally has had enough seeing this poor kid get pummeled. So she teaches him to box.
I love this. I love this.
It's one of the funniest scenes, but it's also the first moment that connects her to Bing Crosby, because he sees what she's doing and he realizes, she cares so much about the kid. She's even willing to, compromise her own beliefs just so this kid doesn't get beat up every day.
Right. And I love that it also has a gentleman in it, as you mentioned, who we know from a classic film that we could spend a whole podcast talking about.
Clarence, the angel from The Wonderful Life. Yeah, Henry Travers, one of those great character actors you've seen in 10 million movies, and he's so good in this. Just the whole movie, just really, if you're not in the spirit after this, then you have no pulse.
Well, in talking about it and in looking at these photos, I said to you earlier, I'm going to rewatch it because I haven't seen it in a minute, and I'm excited to get in the spirit with it.
Yeah, well, I'm excited about the movie you're going to talk about because it's a movie that kind of haunted and thrilled me as a kid, and I wasn't sure why, but now as an adult, so much. I'm gonna throw it to you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was a little tough because there are those classics, as we know, that we want to share. White Christmas with that final scene. Yes. You can't watch it without crying, and same with Miracle on 34th Street and Natalie Wood sitting in the back seat saying, "I believe, I believe." I mean, those are. Yes. Those are ones that I think everybody knows about. But the one that I want to talk about is from 1972. And it was actually in the genre of the Tuesday movie of the week that ABC started back then. I think they
Yes.
also ended up with a Wednesday movie of the week. They were doing a
Yes. I
few
think a
movies of the
Sunday
week.
also. It was classic. The movie of the week was such a great idea. Bring it
Yeah.
back.
Bring it back. Bring it back. Well, the movie that I'm going to talk about is called Home for the Holidays. And
Yes. Not to be confused with the Holly Hunter feature film, which is all about Thanksgiving.
correct, correct. This is a genre that I'm kind of creating myself. It's called Christmas horror.
Yes, 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 please.
And I don't think it really exists, but
Who doesn't love a little homicidal Christmas?
who doesn't love a little homicidal Christmas? And this one, again, I'm attracted to films, good or bad, that have amazing actors in them. And as you can see by this photo, this is no exception. Sally Field, Jessica Walter, Jill Hayworth, and the ever elegant Eleanor Parker,
Oh, I
who I
love
just
Eleanor Parker.
adore. Not pictured in this is another wonderful actress. Julie Harris appears in this film
Yes,
and plays a very pivotal role, as does Walter Brennan.
yes, good old
So
Walter Brennan.
it's quite the film. Now, just to give you a little bit of the plot line. So Walter Brennan has called his daughters to come home at Christmas to this remote farmhouse where they all grew up, where all the girls grew up. There's a very young Sally
Oh,
Field.
look at that little baby face.
I know it, right? I think she was all of like 20. So they come to this remote farmhouse because they think that Walter Brennan's second wife, played by the stellar Julie Harris, is trying to kill Walter Brennan.
I'm trying to imagine Julie Harris and Walter Brennan as a couple.
I know. I think he was a little old for her in 1972, but she plays this role so beautifully. She really straddles this idea of did she or didn't she? Is she killing him? Is she not? And I just love that kind of a picture. Here's the beautiful Eleanor Parker.
Oh,
This is actually from Sound of Music,
I
which
was
is
going
where I
to say
first.
she's our Baroness from The Sound of Music.
Yes.
I kind of came late to the Eleanor Parker fan club because she's such a chameleon that I didn't realize that it was her in so many different movies because she
Yes.
changes her appearance and her style and everything so beautifully from movie to movie to movie. I mean, it took me years to figure out that, the Baroness was the same woman, from, Caged, that great, women's
Agreed.
prison movie.
Do you feel like she's one of these very underrated actresses that just
Yes.
never got her due? That's how
Yes.
I feel about her.
I think she's one of the most underrated leading ladies of the 40s and 50s. I mean, she was nominated for an Oscar 3 times, but still,
Yeah.
for some reason, she just came under the radar.
She doesn't seem to be on the tip of the tongue of the general population. I guess maybe that's
No,
the difference.
no, I
Yeah.
mean, nobody knows her today. I mean,
Yeah.
if you said Eleanor Parker to anybody off the street, they're just not going to know who she is, and it's a shame because she was an incredible actress. I mean,
Yeah. She
even
really was.
even if you go back and look at, she did the first remake of Human Bondage in 45, 46,
Yes.
which, it's asking a lot to fill, the heels of Betty Davis, but she's
Right.
phenomenal in that movie. I mean, you really
Yes.
see what a deep actress she was.
She really is. And this is a fun, I think it runs out, it clocks at like 72 minutes with commercials. On the Tuesday night movie of the week, it would have been 90 minutes. She's just a delight might not be the right word. I'll let you all check it out and see what you think. And the basic thing about the film is that, it's this Agatha Christie meets Christmas, and somebody is running around this farmhouse with a yellow slicker and a pitchfork. And, it just can't end well, right?
Oh, a yellow slicker and a pitchfork.
And a
I'm
pitchfork.
both.
Oh, and I think red rubber boots, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
yes. Well, I remember seeing it as a kid, and it so traumatized me and titillated me.
Yeah,
I was torn.
it is. It's very, I agree with you. I think it is very scary,
It's very
especially as
spectacular.
a kid.
And how about the twist at the end is
Oh,
mind blowing.
The
I'll
twist
say no
at
more.
the end. Yes, I'll say. Well, you know what? I will say one other thing. If you Google this movie, there are people that really don't like it. But if you're a horror fan or a Christmas horror fan, as I'm calling it, I think you should check it out. I think it's really fun. Just go into it with an open mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our podcast drops Sunday nights, and you can find us wherever you find your podcast.
Right. And we'll hope you'll check it out. We've got some other really great lesser known holiday movies to share with you. So come listen.
Ho, 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 get in the mood.
Deck them halls.
That's right.